Hello guys, how are you? I hope you're doing great. I humbly welcome you to yet another topic of our ICT classes. This is our new topic. It's called robotics. Robots. When you hear the word robot, what comes in your mind? Is it the human-like robots? Or is it other robots that you have seen or you have heard about them? Well, in our topic we have a few objectives. We're gonna talk about the history of robots. We're gonna talk about robotic technology, and we're gonna talk about types of robots, and later on we're gonna discuss the importance, that is the advantages and disadvantages of robots. Well, before we begin our lessons, let's watch this video.
What do you picture in your mind when you think of robots? Do you think of a walking, talking piece of metal like this? A lot of people do, because some robots really do look sort of like people. But despite what you see in the movies, most real-life robots don't look like us. They can look like animals, like Squeaks here, or like things you've never even seen before. Robots come in all different shapes and sizes because they all have different jobs to do. And if you're wondering what robots really are and what they can do, you're not alone. 7-year-old Rowan recently emailed us to ask, what is a robot and how do robots work? Squeak says, great question, Rowan. A robot is a machine that's designed by people to do a specific job. And the scientists who design and build robots are called roboticists. Most robots do jobs that people can't do or don't want to do. If a job is kind of boring, like if it involves doing the same thing over and over, or if a job is very dangerous and it means going places where people could get hurt, then chances are a robot has been built to do it instead. The very first robot was built over 50 years ago to help build cars in a factory. Today, car factories still depend on robots a lot like that one to do all kinds of jobs, from putting the pieces of a car together to spraying them with paint when they're finished. And robots work in lots of other kinds of factory jobs too, like building computers and even putting candies in their wrappers. Robots are good at jobs like these because, unlike humans, they're less likely to make mistakes when they're working. And they don't go on vacations or even take lunch breaks. Plus, they never get bored. They can keep going and going and going. This makes nighttime jobs the perfect fit for bots. They can do things like control city trains after dark while we get our sleep. Robots can also work in places that humans would have a tough time adjusting to, or where we could never go. There are robots that work in really hot places, like volcanoes, and really cold places like deep underwater in the ocean, and even in really smelly places like sewage plants. There are even robots doing jobs for us on other planets. Yep, that means there are robots in space. There are 2 robots on wheels named Opportunity and Curiosity that are cruising around on Mars right now. Scientists call them rovers, and they might look like cars or go-karts, but they're considered robots too, because they get instructions from scientists here on Earth to do all kinds of important work, like studying the plant's air, digging up soil, and even drilling into rocks to see what they're made of. Scientists hope that the discoveries that are made by Opportunity and Curiosity will help us figure out how we can one day send humans to Mars. Another robot called R2 was sent to the International Space Station, making it the first human-like robot in space. Even though they're not very common, there are other robots like R2 that look and act sort of like people. One of them, called Osimo, has been built to do some amazing lifelike things. Although he hasn't been to space yet, Osimo can walk, run, climb stairs, and even dance. Robots like Osimo show us just how far roboticists have come since they built the very first robot over 50 years ago. It'll probably be a long time before a robot can do your homework with you or fly you to school every morning. But they're already showing up in a lot of homes, doing ordinary chores like mowing the lawn or vacuuming the house. All we have to do is plug them in or push the start button. So who knows what super cool robots there will be in the next 50 years? I can't wait to find out. Thanks to Rowan for asking such a fun question, and thanks to you for learning about robots with Squeaks and me. And remember, if you have a question about anything you'd like to learn more about, just let us know by getting help from a parent and leaving a comment below, or emailing us at kids@thescishow.com. See you next time.
Now that you have watched the video, let's start with the history of robots. But before, let's discuss about robots. What is a robot? So, we have more kinds of robots that are human-like. Some are designed like drones, and so on. When we think of robots, we should think of a reprogrammable, multifunctional, automatic industrial machine designed to replace human in hazardous work. In short, what I'm trying to share with you is that these robots are designed to simplify the task that a human could have had. Imagine you are assigned to go close to a volcanic area. You know, volcano is the hot lava. You can't go there. It's so dangerous. But with a robot, you can send it and it will reach there regardless of anything. So a robot is a reprogrammable, multifunctional, automatic industrial machine designed to replace human in hazardous work. Furthermore, a robot can be used as an automatic machine, also an automatic car for a child to play with, a machine removing mines in a war field. A robot can also be used in space. A robot can be used in military and many other more, in agriculture, in medical, in designing, all sorts of area and regions where you can use robots. Furthermore, let's talk about robotics. So robotics is a science of designing or building an application of robots. When you create a robot, it can't run on its own. You need to design an application, or you need to have to design a robot in itself. This robot or these applications will now be installed in the robot so that it can be working. Simply, robotics may be defined as the study of robots. So bear with me now. We are studying about robots. Mainly, I want to take out that idea. When we talk of robots, we don't talk of the human-like robots. We're trying to get all those robots in general, like the toy cars that you have seen, the drones, and so on, the washing machines, the dishwasher, sorts of robots. Those are kinds of robots that we can think of. I want to give you a quick assignment. Look around you. What kind of robots do you have close to you? If you have one, well, thanks for that. So robotics is a study of robots. The main aim of robotics is to use, design, and effective robots. Why is robotics needed? Robotics is needed because we need speed in doing things. Can work in hazardous. Robots can work in hazardous, dangerous temperature. Robots can also do repetitive tasks. The same robots can do the work accurately. Now let's see the history of robots. Where was the first robot used? Up to the first robot armored. Now, the history of robots says this word was introduced to the public by Czech writer Karel Capet around the 1890s to 1938. So in his play RUR, that is Erasmus University Ropes, published in 1920, the play begins in factory that makes artificial people called robots. Capet was reportedly several times a candidate for the Nobel Prize for his work. So these are the guys that introduced robotics or robots around the year 1880s and 1938. The word robotics, used to describe the fields of study, was coined accidentally by Russian-born American scientist and science fiction writer Isaac Asimov around 1920 and 1992. In 1940s, that's where everything changed, like in the world of robots. So the 4 R's of robots. For a robot to have the best level of success, the 4 R's were created to assure the best output for the robots. The 4 R means robot, ranking, relevance, results. So robots, the type of robots that will be used in the particular situation, needs to be addressed before the task can be completed. Number 2, ranking. The action that a robot will need to complete have to be ranked to help the robot determine what it will do first or next. More like a washing machine. You need to tell that this is a blanket, then it has to know the steps, where to begin and where to stop. Even if it is to go next, the robot has to be ranked to know where's the next step after doing what it has to do. So ranking, this is the action of a robot that will be needed to complete the task that the robot is assigned to do. Nevertheless, we have the relevance. If a task is given to a robot, it needs to be determined if that task meets the requirements of the task that it has been programmed to complete. Then we're talking about the results. Any robot that has been designed, even if it is a drone or so on, it has to give the result. What result do you want? So, looking at the outcome of the task completed to make sure that the robot is as effective as it can be. So, the 4 R's of the robotics are robot, ranking, relevance, and results. Let's look at the first robot admit. This picture illustrates one of those first robots admit that you ever had around those years. Robots technology. Most of the industrial robots have at least the following 5 parts. Part number 1 in a robot. Almost all the robots have got sensors. They have got effectors. They have got actuators. They have got controllers, and they have got arms. Without these, I don't think a robot can work effectively. Not all of these can be needed for a robot to work, but almost 50% of these 5 items has to be there. Like if you create your robot for measuring temperature, then you have to include the sensors. If your robot is to measure distance, you need also the sensors. is your robot is about burglar alert, you need sensors also, and so on. So those are the key factors of what you can have in a robot. Like I said, we have the sensors and effectors. This is a sensor and these are effectors. Furthermore, we have controllers, we have arms. Now, types of robots. The most common types of robots are mobile robots, stationary robots, autonomous robots, remote controlled robots, and virtual robots. Before we go, what have you learned for today? Robotics. Do you wish to make your own robots? I urge you to have ideas from the moment on. Thanks for keeping attention. Remember, COVID is real. Sanitize, wear your mask, observe social distance. Bye for now.